Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasanati wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." So da'wah, as many imams say, is in fact a fard ayn. It is an individual obligation on every Muslim. Others say it's a fard kifaya. But this depends on what type of da'wah you're talking about, because sometimes people confuse da'wah with fatwa. So there's something called fatwa and there's something called da'wah. Da'wah is an obligation upon every person, individual obligation. In its general meaning, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Ballighu anni walau ayah." He says, convey from me, even if it be one ayah. So therefore he told us, anything that you learn from me, then it is up to you to convey it, to share it with others. You have to share the light, you have to share the good, share the guidance. Prophet ﷺ says to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he sends him, I think, to Yemen with Mu'adh bin Jabal, he says to him, لَأَنْ يَهْدِيَ اللَّهُ بِكَ رَجُلًا وَاحِدًا خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنْ حُمْرِ النَّعَمِ. He says, for Allah to guide bika, through you, one man to the deen, then it is better for you than if you were to have all of the red camels of the world. In our terminology, all of the Mercedes-Benz and Lamborghinis of the world. Imagine how many billions and billions of pounds worth would it be of cars. If you were to bring one person to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is better for you than all this. In order for you to understand what I'm saying, another hadith, perhaps not connected here, but in order to illustrate the point, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, ركعتا الفجر خير من الدنيا وما فيها. The 2 rak'at that you pray of sunnah before your fajr salah, the obligatory fard salah, you have 2 rak'at which is sunnah before it. He says, these 2 sunnah rak'at of fajr that you pray before the obligatory fajr salah, he says, خير لك. خير لك means better for you. خير لك من الدنيا وما فيها. Than the dunya and everything inside the dunya. What's the dunya? The dunya is everything that Allah created, the whole universe. For you to pray 2 rak'at of fajr, or the sunnah, is better than the whole dunya and that which is in it. How do you understand? Some of the ulama said, if you were to take the entire universe, and its wealth and its property, its gold and its silver and its houses and its palaces and its lands and its islands, all the property in the dunya, and you were to own it, this was your property, you own the whole universe, and then you were to say, this whole property of the universe, I give it sadaqah fi sabilillah. I give it charity for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much reward would you have? Oh, this is a big sadaqah. I never heard anyone give sadaqah like this. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, see how big that sadaqah is and that reward? Pray 2 rak'at, take you 2 minutes before fajr. He says the reward for that is more than that sadaqah that you give of the entire universe if you were to own it. So imagine that you were to be the cause, the means for bringing someone to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we understand that this is the responsibility of every Muslim, da'wah to Allah. Now what are the prerequisites of da'wah to Allah? The prerequisites of da'wah to Allah, first of all, is to understand, to distinguish it from the fatwa. Da'wah is to call people generally to the way of Allah, to encourage them, to motivate them, come to masjid, come to salah, you know, you should wear your hijab, you should wear modest clothing, you should learn Quran, you should do this, to encourage people to do virtuous acts in the deen, virtuous acts which are obligatory, virtuous acts which are supererogatory, extra sunnah acts. This is the da'wah to Allah. Then we have what's called the fatwa. The fatwa is, this halal or haram? Am I allowed to do this or am I not allowed to do this? This we leave for the people of ilm. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. So these matters, halal, haram, makruh, mubah, fard, we leave for the ulama. As for everything else, it's for everyone to do, if you have the necessary knowledge. Meaning, if you're going to quote the hadith properly. If you're going to quote the ayah properly. No hadith and don't know Quran, no problem. Tell them from your words, from what you understand, and encourage people. However, it is according to the principles that the Prophet ﷺ told Sayyidina Mu'adh bin Jabal. When he sent him to Yemen as his messenger, he says, Bashiru wa la tunaffiru. These are principles in da'wah. He says, bring people closer, give them glad tidings, encourage them. He says, la tunaffiru. Do not cause them to be disgusted by the deen. Do not cause them to be scared by the deen so that they run away. Qarribu. Bring them closer. don't make them go further away, to run away. So these are the principles in the da'wah, that we try and bring people closer to the deen rather than distance them. We give them glad tidings, you do good, this is going to be a reward, rather than scaring them so much. However, there will be certain circumstances where we need to be strict, severe, come down hard on a particular person, particularly if they're involved deeply in some type of haram action, where you say, Allah is Ghafoorun Rahim. So they'll continue to say, okay, I'll continue going clubbing and dancing, boyfriend, girlfriend, Allah Ghafoorun Rahim, next year I'll make tawbah to Allah. We say, no, Allah is going to punish you. You have punishment in the grave, there are going to be snakes, there are going to be hooks, there are going to be hellfire, Jahannam, pits, you're going to be burned in the hellfire. So, oh, better stop then. So you see the situation. Use hikmah, because Allah Ta'ala says, Id'u ila sabili rabbika. Bil hikmah, this is the first thing, you need hikmah, you need wisdom. وَالْمَوْعِظَ الْحَسَنَةِ, and beautiful words. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. This usually refers to the people of the book, that you need to debate with them, but in the best of ways, without insulting their religion, without insulting their God. For Allah Ta'ala tells us, do not insult their gods, perchance they insult your God. That is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, some of you insult your own parents. Ya Rasulullah, how do we insult our own parents? He says, when you swear at another person's parents, then they're going to swear at your parents. So you become the cause for someone swearing at your parents. So basically you have therefore sworn at your parents. So he says, don't swear at other people's parents. So therefore you should be respectful, mindful of other people and their sanctity.